Hi, welcome to our podcast video. I'm Kayla.
I'm Sydney.
I'm Milo.
I'm Shelby.
I'm Maddie.
And we're the Blue Angels. Today we're going to talk about gender and representation and race in media and how it affects television and other film shows. Starting off with women. Media represents women as sexual objects. They make them inferior and are weaker. They make women seem as stay-at-home moms who have no place in the work field. Male characters are always looked at as sexual, dim-witted, and tough. Blue-collar workers who are not smart enough, or white-collared men who use sex, money, and drugs to get what they want in life. I recently saw the movie Hustlers with Jennifer Lopez. She played the role of a stripper who had to sell her body and please rich men to get by in life. The men were such pigs and city workers that they threw money to them in exchange for personal pleasures. Anybody have anything that they'd like to say about women?
Yeah, I saw the movie Grease. It's a classic.
Oh, I love Grease.
It's a classic,
Yeah.
but something.
Never seen it.
Really?
Really?
Never seen it.
Go home and watch it, Shelby.
Yeah, it's a good
Shelby's
one.
gonna go home and watch Grease now.
Yeah, something we always forget about is how Sandy basically changes everything about herself to please Danny, and this is pretty, and it works. And she and all of her friends, just all they talk about is boys in the whole film. And she feels like she has to lie to her friends to to exaggerate her relationship with Danny and seem cooler. And yeah, this is definitely a representation of that.
I feel like that has a lot to do with Disney as well, such as the Beauty and the Beast.
For sure.
Right.
Women have this idea that
Mhm.
men who are abusive and angry, you can change them.
Yeah.
The Beauty and the Beast shows this strong beast who is mean and abusive to Belle, and just by one kiss he turns this handsome prince. That's not reality.
So essentially, I feel like it's not okay.
No.
Yeah.
To change yourself.
Yeah.
And especially as young girls watching these movies and growing up,
What does
this
that teach you?
this is
It's
what we
pretty
think.
much forcing
Yeah.
women to be in toxic relationships just because
Yeah.
the outcome could be better.
Yeah.
and also every princess is thin and white
Right.
primarily.
Cookie
Right.
cutter,
I
basically.
Yeah,
feel like-
cookie cutter,
Yeah.
beautiful.
I feel like it's harmful because
What's a guy's perspective?
Yeah, what do you think?
Well, I just think that it shows that you have to be a certain way, or it creates an image in someone's mind that
Right.
you have to be a certain way or look a certain way.
I feel like
Especially with little girls.
Disney has
Yeah.
definitely highly sexualized the bodies on all of their princesses,
Mm-hmm.
making younger girls feel the need to look and feel a certain way.
Yeah.
And then if you don't look a certain way, then boys won't necessarily like you or be attracted to you.
Right.
I feel like that's a main issue a lot of people still deal with. I feel like we teach girls that when men are mean to you, it means that they like you and that you have the ability to change them.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you want to talk about racial and ethnic stereotypes in social media and TV and television as well?
Yeah, I can say something. I have a positive thing about that actually. I picked the movie The Call with Halle Berry. I love that movie actually.
I
It's a
love
good
Halle
one.
Berry.
good.
I've never seen it.
Yeah, it's really good. So anyway, this girl, she's the 911 operator, and she makes a huge mistake. She's African American, but she plays the main character in pretty much moral of the story, saving the day, as far as going around cops and what they think. And what does she end up doing? She ends up doing it herself and
Yeah.
saving the person who the serial killer. She went after him. So I think that tells a big story with her, because number one, she's African American, number two, she's a woman in their workforce, such as being a 911 operator. It's a pretty big job. So I think what she achieved sent a pretty clear message to viewers.
Yeah, you can't rely on anybody, just get the job done yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like media also represents African Americans in a negative way most of the time, and there's always some type of hidden racism.
Right.
Essentially on commercials and TVs, they always show African Americans making jokes that they like watermelon or they drink grape soda.
Right.
They always make them seem like the lesser race compared to white people.
Right.
For one of the films that I watched and chose for Journal 7, I chose The Blind Side with Sandra Bullock. Has anybody ever seen?
Yeah.
Best
Yes.
movie
I've seen
ever.
it.
I love
Great
that
movie.
movie.
Yeah,
It's a pretty old
Um,
movie by
yeah.
this point now.
definitely.
Yeah.
An African American boy. He had like essentially a horrible home life. Was doing poorly in school, but was like really great at football. And a white family had taken him in. They were rich and like gave him everything he needed. And the dad was the football coach for the high school. And they took him in, gave him a better life, and then that was a positive connotation of it. But the negative was that it was during a time when it was like looked down upon for African Americans and whites to coincide. So they were shunned a little bit by their friends and made fun of. But essentially, he went on and became like this like multi-millionaire football
Yeah.
player in the NFL.
Yeah, that's a great story.
Yeah.
It's a good example too.
There's also like going back to Disney. There's also, of course, like just growing up like with Disney around. Like Peter Pan is a great example. They have like the like Indians in the movie, and they say like they call them like the Red Men, and they sing a song about it. And just like the use of like certain words and like stereotypes is definitely gonna like do something to kids like watching that at a young age.
Off of Disney, though, there is the movie The Princess and the Frog with the first Black
Yeah.
princess, but that wasn't until like 2009.
Right.
But she was still the owner of like a restaurant. I think in the end she was like the owner of the restaurant. Hardworking Black woman, just living it up.
Independent.
And then
Yeah.
comes a frog and like
Saves her basically.
Yeah.
yeah. Or I think she saves him because isn't he
Oh.
cursed? Because the frog is cursed
Yeah.
from this like wizard man. Don't remember a lot of it, but
Background
she
story.
was still she was still like a hardworking Black woman, and it wasn't until like 2009 though that it finally like came up in Disney.
Yeah.
Because we do have Princess Jasmine, but that's 1992, and she had like everything handed to her, and like the common thief that she like fell in
Right.
love with. That everyone's like, don't do that.
Yeah, it always makes the girls think they need to like the bad boys.
Right.
Bad, all around bad guys.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
don't do that.
No.
Don't do that.
Tyler, you a bad boy?
Nah.
He's a good guy.
Hopefully not. Did anyone ever see the movie Remember the Titans?
Yes.
No, I've
I
heard
did
of
it
that
once,
movie.
and I was
Never
like
seen it with my
asleep.
dad.
Good movie, right? Have you ever
Never
seen
seen
it?
it.
Really?
I haven't
Okay.
seen it either.
So there is like both positive and negative connotations for African Americans and white people.
Right.
So essentially, schools shut down and African Americans had to merge schools with white kids, and this was like during like the 1960s. It was like a time where
Yeah.
it was like still really frowned upon for people to like coincide.
Yeah.
So the day the schools merged, like there was a whole riot outside, and parents were upset that African Americans were going to mix with their kids. And then it's centered around the team's football team, and now the Black kids and the white kids have to like come together, and they got a new head coach who's also Black. So it caused like a whole uproar. And the
Yeah.
Black coach
Yeah.
like wasn't standing for it, and he took them on like a team retreat essentially, and
Yeah.
somehow all these kids like took away what their parents were saying and became friends. And the two co-captains, one was white, one was Black, they became like best friends. They started calling themselves brothers. And then the white kid unfortunately like got hit in a football game really bad and got paralyzed. And like the other Black co-captain like stepped in and was like, oh, this is my brother, and like they like won the game for him. It was like this whole big thing.
Yeah.
But they kind of went like against societal norms and chose each other and like just looked upon what everybody else is saying, which I feel like happens a lot in social media
Yeah.
and like TV and movies and all of that.
Yeah.
I feel like it's always like the parents telling the kids. I feel like that's another big problem.
Yeah.
Like
It's like
kids,
generational
yeah.
kind of.
like
yeah.
kids learn from like what their parents teach them,
For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, definitely.
and that's like a big problem because if we just let kids make their own decisions and think for themselves
You
instead
don't,
of giving them
yeah.
predisposed information
Right.
you're not born like prejudice. You learn that.
Right.
Yeah.
from who you're surrounded by.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, because even now, like, my little grandma is, like, 80-something, and she's still, like, terrified of some African-American people, and I'm like, they're not gonna bite you, like,
Yeah, yeah.
just go on with your life. Like,
Right.
when she lived in her, like, regular, like, apartment building, now, like, her senior center where she's at now, she's, like, running to, like, her car, which she can't, because she's 80.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, you never walked as fast. She's like, they're over there. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, just go to your car.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Like,
I feel like it's okay to be scared, but at the same time, I don't think you should base like one experience off of
she
everyone.
doesn't even have an experience though.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
feel
Like
like-
that's the thing is, I feel like people really look at like one African American person. If they strike them the wrong way, they
Uh-huh.
categorize everyone as
It's
them.
like you see one negative thing and like
Yeah.
all of
Right.
a sudden everybody in that category
Yeah, and it's like everybody
fits
has a
that
negative.
criteria
Like
for
the
you.
know what I mean?
media, like a lot of the media shows like just like the negative things that
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
African Americans
Seriously,
do.
even on the
so,
news and everything.
yeah,
Yeah.
It's
so
mainly
like
the
people
never
take
anything
that as
positive.
like, oh, like they must all be like that, or
Yeah.
like they're all bad, or
Yeah. Well, there you have it, guys. Race,
There
gender,
you
and
have
it
it.
affects everything.
Yeah.
If only we would just let people make their own decisions, maybe
Yeah.
people would have other opinions.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening.
Thanks
Thanks
for
for
watching our
watching.
podcast.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.